Asim, maybe I think we should start and while.
Okay, sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asim, and I'm the host and moderator for today's event. I'm president of CFA Society Pakistan and also work as Chief Investment Officer with MCBRFB, one of the leading asset management companies in Pakistan. On behalf of CFA Society Pakistan, I am pleased to welcome all of our audience joining from different locations. We are really honored to have a highly distinguished set of speakers joining us for discussion on investment opportunities in Pakistan in the context of Roshan digital account. I'm honored to welcome our guest speakers, Dr. Murtaza Syed, Mr. Syed Irfan, Mr. Shazad Dada, Mr. Sharjeel Shahid, Mr. Badiuddin Akber, Mr. Farrukh. Thank you for being here. Before we begin, I'll just quickly mention about CFA Society Pakistan. We are a member society of CFA Institute, which administers the CFA program globally. CFA qualification is a qualification for investment professionals and is noted as gold standard in the investment industry globally by the Financial Times, which is a globally recognized business journal. We work towards improvement in capital markets, professional development of our colleagues, and higher ethical behavior in the markets we work in. There are more than 165 countries where CFA societies are contributing towards this cause. So if our focus is more on the investment markets, and since it's a relevant topic, so I would encourage you to follow us on social media to know more updates and more informed events. Now we come towards the Roshan digital account, which actually is a gateway to investment opportunities for Pakistanis who want to invest in the home country from outside Pakistan. So overseas Pakistanis were never barred, so they could always invest in Pakistan. However, the process is now being more simplified, being more accessible, and being more enabled through this initiative. And the idea now is to make more Pakistanis, more overseas Pakistanis be made aware of the process and the opportunities in Pakistan. So since it's an investment forum and there has already been a lot being talked about Roshan digital account, so I would like to focus more on the investment decision, the basis for investment decision in Pakistan. For the benefit of the overall audience to help them make an informed decision. So first of all, whenever we make an investment decision as an investment professional, we are focused on the investment environment and in a particular country, how the economy is doing. Whether the economy is stable and a question that resonates a lot from overseas Pakistanis when we talk to them is what is going to happen about the currency. So we are not going to ask Murtaza Syed about what is going to be the exchange rate, but we would request him to let us know about the state of economy so that investors could have more confidence about the state of economy, the set of reforms that have been developed and that have helped Pakistan come out of the crisis and position for the future growth. Now, these questions are very challenging, and I think it's really a challenge for Dr. Murtaza actually to put this in the next 15 hours window. But let's try to make most of this time. And before I formally hand over to Dr. Murtaza, I'll just quickly mention the format. So we have these speakers who are going to come and talk to us about their areas. And after that, a Q&A session would be there. And you can post your questions in the Q&A window at the bottom of your screens. Audience who are live on Facebook can also post questions there and they will be relayed here. Now to learn about how economic indicators are moving and reflect on economic stability, I would by inviting Dr. Murtaza Syed, who is the Deputy Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, who has joined earlier this year at State Bank and has extensive experience at IMF in terms of policy making and has been involved in program development, design, implementation, monitoring, training, and several other areas, and is very well versed with the economic management. Dr. Syed has a PhD in economics from University of Oxford, and he has published papers on a variety of macroeconomic issues. He has delivered lectures on public policy at Cambridge and Oxford universities. Dr. Murtaza Saab, we are really honored to have you here and really excited to hear from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Asim, for that generous introduction. And I would also like to thank the CFA Society Pakistan and your colleagues for organizing the webinar. It's a very exciting opportunity for us to talk to your members. I would also like to thank UBL for helping put this webinar together. UBL is, of course, one of the banks that is collaborating with the State Bank in bringing the Roshan digital account to overseas Pakistanis. Asim, you've given me a very tough ask. In 15 minutes, I am going to try and convince your listeners that the outlook for the Pakistani economy is actually very strong. It is Roshan, to borrow the name of the digital account that we will be also talking about. Let me give you 3 reasons why I think Pakistan's macroeconomic outlook is actually pretty favorable. The first is that for the first time, you have key economic ministries and key economic agencies being run by technocrats for the first time in a long time. If you look at the finance ministry, you have the finance advisor who has many years of experience at the World Bank and also with public policy making in Pakistan. He is someone who understands the Pakistani economy and the international economy very well. If you look at the State Bank, we have a governor, as you said, who has spent time at the IMF, has a long and distinguished career there, and understands very much what it takes for the central bank to move into the next league of emerging market central banks. I myself was there. Thank you for that introduction. We also have a deputy governor who has spent 30 years of her career in the private banking industry. She just joined a few months ago, Deputy Governor Seema Kamel. She is someone with a lot of experience on the private banking side. Our third deputy governor is someone who came up through the institution, understands the central bank very, very well, Jameel Ahmed Saab. So for the first time, I think in many years, you have technocrats that are running both the central bank as well as the finance ministry. And you are beginning to see the results of that. If you look at the second reason to be optimistic about Pakistan's future is if you think about where we were 18 months ago. We were in the depths of a very severe balance of payments crisis. Our current account deficit was running at about $2 billion a month. We were virtually out of foreign exchange reserves. Our fiscal situation was on a clearly unsustainable path. Our fiscal deficits had mushroomed and our public debt was on an ever increasing trajectory. So 18 months ago, the government had to take some very, very tough decisions to try to redress this situation. First, the government agreed to let the exchange rate go from a de facto fixed exchange rate system to a flexible and market determined one. This was necessary because Pakistan had kept its exchange rate virtually fixed in the past, and this had led to a loss of competitiveness. Our exports were no longer competitive, and our imports were growing at an unsustainable pace. This stability in the exchange rate came at the expense of our foreign exchange reserves. We had to use up a lot of foreign exchange reserves to keep the exchange rate artificially strong. So the first thing this government did, I think, on the macroeconomic side, was to allow the exchange rate to go from this fixed exchange rate system to a flexible and market determined one. This was a very brave decision. I think people at the time last year, in the summer of last year, were creating all kinds of concerns that the exchange rate would go through the roof. That didn't happen. In fact, the exchange rate appreciated through the transition, and we were able to build up reserves. Last year, in the summer of last year, our foreign exchange reserves stood at $7 billion. This is quite a low level. It wasn't even enough to cover about a month and a half of our imports. It was something that created a lot of concern, and in fact was one of the prime reasons we had to go to the IMF. Today, our foreign exchange reserves, despite COVID, are at $13 billion. I'm talking about the State Bank's foreign exchange reserves. And we have also improved our forward book, where we were short on dollars, our forward liabilities, by $2 billion. So net, the improvement in our foreign exchange reserves buffers has actually been $8 billion since last summer, despite COVID. So that was one brave decision that the government took. The other was to stop the central bank financing of the government deficit. This was also important because in the past we were doing that and that was very inflationary. And stopping that was a big institutional reform that this government did. And even through COVID, this commitment not to resort to central bank financing of the budget deficit has been honored. The third important thing I think that was done was on the fiscal side. There was significant tax base broadening. And if you look at what had happened to tax revenue on the eve of the corona crisis, we had tax revenues that had grown by 17% year on year in the first 9 months of the previous fiscal year. So we were also making very good inroads in terms of addressing another problem that Pakistan has, which is a very low tax to GDP ratio, among the lowest in the world. We were beginning to address that. So I think on the eve of the corona crisis earlier this year, around March, we had made significant inroads into addressing the twin deficits that had created our problems. The current account deficit was brought almost to zero through the exchange rate reform, and the fiscal problems that we had were being addressed through some very aggressive tax revenue reforms that were beginning to pay quite a lot of dividend. At the same time, after this difficult stabilization, we were beginning to see the green shoots of a recovery in the Pakistani economy. Some of the indicators were beginning to turn in January, February, earlier this year. Then, of course, comes COVID. And this is the third reason why I think there is reason to be optimistic about Pakistan's future. If you look at the way that Pakistan handled the COVID crisis, it has stood out, I think, both regionally and also globally. First of all, we dealt with the first wave of the COVID crisis quite well. The government was able to flatten the curve very early on and at levels of infection that were much lower than in the rest of the world. This was done, of course, through the smart lockdown strategies and also the containment and contact and tracing mechanisms the government had instituted. At the same time, because we had built up buffers in the first 9 months of the previous fiscal year, both the state bank and the government were able to support the economy through that COVID shock. The COVID shock that came at the last quarter of fiscal year 20, between March and June, basically, of this year. That was when the COVID crisis was at its peak in Pakistan. We had to do lockdowns. Economic activity came to a standstill. But the government, both on the fiscal side and the state bank, through interest rate cuts and different refinance facilities that we were able to roll out, we were able to contain the economic damage. And I think that is another reason why people should be quite confident about the outlook. The fact that Pakistan dealt with the first wave of COVID without major damage to the economy and without major damage to the fiscal and current account trajectory that we were on before COVID. To illustrate that, I would say that the public debt ratio in Pakistan only increased by 1% of GDP through COVID, despite the aggressive stimulus that the government gave. This was because they were able to basically bring down their cash buffers at the state bank. So there was not any lasting damage done to our fiscal finances. This is not the case in a number of countries globally where COVID has had a very lasting impact on fiscal finances and a very permanent increase in debt. In Pakistan's case, that has not happened. The other thing that I will say is that the state bank was able to give all of these stimulus measures through the interest rate reductions, the very aggressive interest rate reductions, 625 basis points cumulative decrease in the policy rate, and these refinance facilities. All told, the stimulus that the state bank was able to put into the economy was something like 4% of GDP. And we were able to do this also without causing any major financial market dislocations in Pakistan. The exchange rate has only depreciated by 3% since COVID, since the end of January. If you compare that to a number of emerging markets like Turkey, Brazil, Russia, there the exchange rate has depreciated by 20 to 25% since COVID. So that's another reason to be optimistic. Pakistan was able to respond to COVID without doing any damage to its macroeconomic fundamentals. the fundamentals that were on a good trajectory before COVID. So these are the three reasons why I think, Asim, that Pakistan's outlook is very favorable. First, that you have technocrats running the major economic institutions of Pakistan. Second, that we were able to deal with the balance of payments crisis that we had, the very severe balance of payments crisis that we had inherited through January of this year. I think we did very well. Then when the COVID crisis hit, again, we have done quite well in terms of being able to manage that without doing any major damage to our macroeconomic fundamentals. Those are the three reasons. So that was on the outlook, and I'm happy to take questions later also on specific questions that people might have. But let me just end my intervention with just spending a few minutes on the Roshan digital account. The Roshan digital account, I think, is emblematic of the optimism that I think we should carry about Pakistan's future. For the first time in our history, we have been able to bring an account that is completely online and digital. It is brought for the overseas Pakistanis, but if it goes well, and it is going very well, we also hope to be able to roll out this kind of digital onboarding to Pakistanis so that financial inclusion can improve in Pakistan and more people can have bank accounts. So the really exciting part of the Roshan digital account is that we are hoping that it'll mean that this is the beginning of a new era of digital banking in Pakistan, or fintech in Pakistan. We are wanting to connect the overseas diaspora to Pakistan's banking system. The state bank has been able to overhaul the regulatory framework to allow customers living outside Pakistan to open an account without having to visit a bank branch, without having to come to Pakistan, without having to go to an embassy or consulate. The process is very easy. I think Sharjeel will talk about it later in this webinar. And we have also brought the regulatory provisions that allow the account to be fully repatriable. This means that the money that you have in the account can be remitted back to where you live without any regulatory approval, without any hassle, and without needing any permissions from the state bank or from the bank with which you have the account. So that, I think, to us is very exciting. We have worked with a number of agencies, CDC, SECP, other agencies, to try to bring a full lifestyle banking of services through this account for overseas Pakistanis. This means that not only can you do the normal things that you do in Pakistan with a bank account, like paying bills, making transfers, but you can also invest in a number of very attractive investment opportunities, like the Naya Pakistan certificate, which offers very good returns in dollars and in Pakistani rupees. And I should mention, is something that even resident Pakistanis can invest in as long as they have declared assets abroad. The Naya Pakistan certificates are also open to resident Pakistanis with assets abroad. The other exciting investment opportunities are the stock market. And as you know, Pakistan's stock market has been among the best performing stock markets in Asia since COVID. And you can also invest for the first time in the property market in Pakistan and repatriate any gains that you make through those investments through this Roshan digital account. So that is what we have done in terms of the regulatory framework and being able to provide overseas Pakistanis with a full and very wide variety of banking services through this account. The last thing I'll say is that we have also been engaged very aggressively with the banks in trying to promote the Roshan digital account. And thankfully, we've done a lot of seminars, a lot of webinars like the one today, and we've had very good reception, we've had very good feedback, and we are constantly updating the regulatory framework that underlies the account, and we're also updating the processes to make it even better. Because, of course, with any new initiative, there are initial teething problems. We're over those now. I'm very happy to tell you that as of yesterday, 52,470 Roshan digital accounts had been opened, and these accounts have been opened from more than 90 countries worldwide. On a daily basis, we are opening about 700 accounts. This number jumps to about 1,000 over the weekend. We have had $140 million come in through these accounts so far. Yesterday, we had a record in terms of the daily number of funds that were coming into the account. We had about $8 million come in yesterday. And $80 million out of those 140 million have gone into the Naya Pakistan certificates. So we're off to a very good start. I would like to encourage the listeners today, the participants in the webinar, to please try to open a Roshan digital account if you happen to be overseas. If you are in Pakistan, but you have declared assets abroad, the Naya Pakistan certificates is something that you can try. And please get in touch with us if you have ideas for how to improve this initiative even further. And tell your friends about it. If you like it, please help us spread the word. We would be very happy if this national cause, this new way of bringing foreign exchange into Pakistan can gain even further momentum going forward. So with that, Asim, I'll hand it back to you, and I look forward to the question and answer session.
Thank you very much, sir. I must appreciate a complete account, a very comprehensive account in terms of review of economy and the outlook, and within the timeline that we had given you. Thank you so much. It's really enlightening. And but one thing I would request, I would just exceed the time limit myself, because without talking about risks, since we are talking about economic outlook, it's not complete without talking about risks. So one risk, if you could comment about, is since we are in IMF program and the IMF program is about to resume, we have been hearing about it. Do you think that the set of reforms required by IMF program can put some pace, can slow down the pace of this economic growth and the momentum that you are trying to build in getting the economy out of the crisis? So would request your comments about it.
Thank you, Asim. Let me just say that on the IMF, we are very close to resuming the program. The gap between us is closing fast. The major issues that we had with the IMF were to do with the power sector, where tariff increases are required. We had committed to doing those, and we know that that is the right thing to do over the medium term. And secondly, on the fiscal side, where some tax broadening measures and some tax rates need to go up, some tax exemptions need to go away. And again, we have committed to doing that. It is the right thing to do for Pakistan because we do need to have fiscal sustainability. The issue that we are debating with them right now is how fast we should move on those things. Because if you move too fast on fiscal consolidation, if you move too fast in terms of utility hikes, you may create, as you said, some pressure on the momentum that is being built in terms of the recovery. You know, we are seeing cement sales at record highs. We are seeing automobile sales doing quite well. We are seeing petroleum sales go up. Business sentiment is at a 2-year high. So there's nice momentum, but it is fragile. And that is exactly the nature of the conversations that is taking place now with the IMF. How fast should we go back to that consolidation path? And we are confident that we will be able to work out with them a path that makes sense for Pakistan, so that the recovery that we have right now, which is fragile, because we are now seeing a second wave of COVID happening globally. And therefore, we feel that this momentum still needs a little bit of policy support. We're confident that we'll be able to have a conversation with the IMF on the pace and the sequencing of these needed reforms. And to do it in a way that does not stymie the recovery that we have going. Because I think even the IMF would not want that to happen. If you're worried about debt sustainability in Pakistan, you do need to bring the debt down. But if your economy starts to stumble, that also is going to be very bad for debt sustainability. So that is the nature of the conversation that we're having.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your comments. Now, the next question. So we have been requested to try to speak in Urdu as well. So मेरी कोशिश होगी कि मैं उर्दू में अपनी conversation को continue करूँ. So जो next सवाल, as an investor, there is a check on economy कि ठीक है, economy stable है, now it's recovering. The next question that usually comes about the concern with regards to कि हमारी investments safe हैं in RDA account या Roshan digital account. That is usually a basic question that comes up very frequently. And for that, if you allow me, I would request Syed Irfan Ali Sahab to kindly share his thoughts about. Usually लोगों की concern होती है कि हमारे पैसे इस account के through overseas investors have been investing into developed markets, let's say. They are bringing it back to Pakistan. So what is the kind of policy environment they can draw the comfort from? So Irfan Saab, if you would like to add about it. So I will briefly mention about Irfan Saab. Irfan Saab is Executive Director, State Bank, and also the Managing Director of Deposit Protection Corporation of Pakistan, and a very seasoned banker and policymaker, has been at SVP for a considerable period of time, and public policy has been one of his areas of expertise. So I would request Irfan Saab to kindly share his views about it.
बहुत शुक्रिया Asim, thank you so much. Actually, I've been a fan of CFA Society for a very long time because the quality of discussion that takes place here is always top class, and it helps professionals or policymakers like me to take better decisions within the ambit of where I work, that is the State Bank of Pakistan. अच्छा ना, इसको इस बात को ज़रा कुछ इस तरह समझते हैं कि स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान एक रेगुलेटर है जो आपको पता है कि मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को देखता है, बैंकिंग सिस्टम को देखता है और गवर्नमेंट को भी असिस्ट करता है, जैसे मुर्तज़ा साहब ने आपको बताया। और स्टेट बैंक ने और या गवर्नमेंट ने मिलकर बहुत ही कुछ ब्रेव स्टेप्स लिए। ब्रेव स्टेप्स का भी जिक्र मुर्तज़ा साहब ने आपके लिए किया। तो इसको कुछ इस तरह समझते हैं कि स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने इस इन्वेस्टमेंट को अट्रैक्टिव बनाने के लिए उससे पहले क्या स्टेप्स लिए और अब क्या होने जा रहा है। स्टेट बैंक ने, इफ यू रिकॉल, पिछले कोई साल 1.5-2 साल से हम लोग वी आर वर्किंग ऑन अ नेशनल पेमेंट सिस्टम स्ट्रैटेजी पे हम काम कर रहे थे। और नेशनल पेमेंट सिस्टम स्ट्रैटेजी का बुनियादी मतलब ये है कि हम एक डिजिटल एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट कर रहे हैं जिधर पाकिस्तानीज विद इन पाकिस्तान एंड अब्रॉड अपनी ट्रांजैक्शंस डिजिटली कर सकें और स्टेट बैंक वो एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट कर दें उनके लिए कि पेमेंट्स आसान हो जाए। तो एक बहुत ही अहम हमारी जो पॉलिसी का जो बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो पेमेंट सिस्टम को स्ट्रेंथन करना है और उसका स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करना है। तो वो स्ट्रक्चर हमने क्रिएट किया और उसको करते जा रहे हैं। इसीलिए बार बार आप सब लोग डिजिटल की बात सुन रहे हैं कि डिजिटल है। तो डिजिटल में प्राइमरीली 3 बातें हैं, इट शुड बी सेफ, इट शुड बी सिक्योर एंड इट शुड बी चीप। तो वो हमने कर दिया। अनफॉर्चुनेटली कोविड आया, कोविड को हमने, जाहिर है हमारी इकोनॉमी पे हम पे असर हुआ, पर हमने कोविड को पॉजिटिव वे में ट्रांसफॉर्म किया। बाकी पॉलिसीज तो आप सबके सामने हैं, बट इंटर बैंक फंड ट्रांसफर को हमने फ्री कर दिया। रिजल्टेंटली अगर आप हमारा पेमेंट सिस्टम रिव्यू अब देखें तो आपको आइडिया होगा कि पाकिस्तानीज ने हमारी पॉलिसीज को पॉजिटिवली हाथों हाथ लिया और ट्रांजैक्शंस मल्टीपल बिलियंस एंड बिलियंस ऑफ रुपीस ट्रांजैक्ट हुए। तो उसका सबसे अहम फायदा ये हुआ कि हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्ट्रेंथन हुआ। तो जो डिजिटल पाकिस्तानीज हैं और पाकिस्तानीज के लिए जो हम प्रोडक्ट लाए उसमें इस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का बहुत बड़ा हाथ है जो हमने स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने इन पाकिस्तानीज जो पाकिस्तान में रहते हैं उनके लिए क्रिएट किया और जो पाकिस्तानीज पाकिस्तान से बाहर रहते हैं वो उनके लिए क्रिएट किया। अब दूसरी बात जो इक्वली अहम है वो आपकी एक्सचेंज पॉलिसी है कि एक्सचेंज पॉलिसी है, पाकिस्तान में पैसे लाने हैं, पाकिस्तान से पैसे ले जाने हैं, तो उसमें कितनी आसानी है। अंग्रेजी में जस्ट टू एक्सप्लेन के ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस है क्या। तो स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस पर भी उस तरह ही काम किया ताकि पाकिस्तानी जब पाकिस्तान या कोई भी शख्स पाकिस्तान में पैसे लाए तो ले जा भी सके, और उसको हम रीपैट्रिएबिलिटी कहते हैं कि जी पाकिस्तान में पैसे लाओ तो ले भी जाओ अच्छा, उसके बाद फिर जाहिर है फिर इन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी हुई और ये रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट हमने क्रिएट किया। अब हम इसको 2 हिस्सों में डिवाइड करते हैं। एक वो लोग जो कि कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड है जिसमें आप रिस्क की बात करते हैं, वैसे तो रिटेल वर्ल्ड में भी रिस्क की बात होनी चाहिए, पर एक कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड है जिसको मूडीज, फिच और आप जैसे पढ़े लिखे लोगों की सर्विसेज हासिल है, जो लोग एक इन्वेस्टमेंट लार्जर डिसीजंस करते हैं कि हमने $100 मिलियन लाने हैं, 200 लाने हैं, $2 बिलियन लगाने हैं, हमने पावर प्लांट लगाना है। तो वो लोग दे आर वेरी वेल एजुकेटेड, उनको स्ट्रॉन्ग एडवाइजर्स की फैसिलिटी अवेलेबल होती है और वो लोग बेहतर डिसीजंस इसीलिए करते हैं। However, अब हम बात करने जा रहे थे रिटेल लेवल पे, हमने बात की उन पाकिस्तानीज की जो कि नॉन रेजिडेंट थे पर पाकिस्तान से ताल्लुक स्ट्रॉन्ग करने की कोशिश थी। तो रेमिटेंसेस पाकिस्तान में आती हैं, आपको पता ही है कि $23 बिलियन पिछले साल आए। इस साल हमारी एंटिसिपेशन ये है कि इससे भी ज़्यादा होंगे। पिछले 4-5 महीने की परफॉर्मेंस पहले से भी बेहतर है। तो पाकिस्तानीज आर शोइंग दैट कॉन्फिडेंस ऑन दैट इकोनॉमी। तो इन्वेस्टमेंट एनवायरनमेंट के लिए कॉन्फिडेंस से ज़्यादा अहम चीज़ तो कोई है नहीं। तो हमने क्या किया, हमने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को स्ट्रेंथन किया, हमने एक्सचेंज पॉलिसी को इम्प्रूव किया और सबसे अहम ये काम किया कि हमने डेलीगेट किया। और रिपैट्रिएशन के लिए डेलीगेशन सबसे अहम बात थी। तो रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट जब हमने किया तो हमने क्या किया, हमने वी क्रिएटेड अ लाइफस्टाइल एनवायरनमेंट। हमने कहा ये लाइफस्टाइल प्रोडक्ट है, आप दूर रहकर भी पास, आप दुनिया में कहीं भी बैठे हो, नॉन रेजिडेंट होना चाहिए आपको, आप पाकिस्तान में इन्वेस्टमेंट करो, आप एक रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट खोलो। रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट इज द गेटवे। अब वो यूबीएल से खोलो, एचबीएल से खोलो, सांबा से खोलो, डू इट। हमने जैसे मैंने आपको पहले बताया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया, हमने कहा कि हमारी आईटी टेक्नोलॉजी डिजिटल स्ट्रेंथन होगी, तो यूबीएल ने अपनी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया, इसने अपनी ऐप बनाई और अकाउंट खुल गया। अब आपने अकाउंट खोला तो अब आपने कहा, हमने आपसे कहा यू हैव ओपन एन अकाउंट, अब इसको इस्तेमाल क्या करें। अब आपने अपने बिल, बिजली के बिल पे करने हैं और आपने बच्चों की फीस पे करनी, सो दैट इज द लाइफ स्टाइल। बट द अदर पार्ट वॉज द इन्वेस्टमेंट। इन्वेस्टमेंट हमने आपके लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज की क्रिएट की। रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट ने कहा, हमने कहा कि आप नया पाकिस्तान सर्टिफिकेट में इन्वेस्ट करो, आप कन्वेंशनल तरीके से भी कर सकते हो, आप इस्लामिक भी कर सकते हो। तो वी क्रिएटेड दैट एनवायरनमेंट, द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, द एनवायरनमेंट एंड दैट कॉन्फिडेंस। हमने कहा वी हैव कॉन्फिडेंस इन अवरसेल्व्स, आप यू इन्वेस्ट योर मनी इन नया पाकिस्तान सर्टिफिकेट, हम आपको 7% तक इंटरेस्ट देंगे। इस्लामिक प्रोडक्ट है, शरिया बेस्ड है, शरिया एडवाइजर्स ने उसको वेट किया है। अगर आप कन्वेंशनल नहीं चाहते तो आप इस्लामिक भी करें। और हम आपको सबसे जो अहम बात की, जो हमने बार बार की, जो मैं दोहराता जा रहा हूँ, हमने ये कहा कि जनाब आप इसमें पैसे लगाएंगे तो रीपैट्रेबल है, आपका जब दिल चाहे ले जाए। एंड देन वी क्रिएटेड, तो हमने एक लाइफ स्टाइल, एक एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया। हमने कहा नहीं, सिर्फ नया पाकिस्तान में ही नहीं करें इन्वेस्ट, आप प्रॉपर्टी खरीद लें, प्रॉपर्टी को रेंट पर दे दें, रेंट भी ले जाएं, प्रॉपर्टी पे कैपिटल गेन हो वो भी ले जाएं 3 साल बाद। तो वी हैव, हमने हर वो तरीका अडॉप्ट किया। स्टॉक मार्केट, इधर स्टॉक मार्केट के फारूक साहब बैठे हैं, सीडीसी के बदियुद्दीन साहब बैठे हैं। बदिउद्दीन साहब आपको गवाही देंगे कि स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान खुद इनके साथ इंगेज हुआ। हमने कहा नहीं भाई, दिस इज अ लाइफस्टाइल प्रोडक्ट, तो पाकिस्तानी आएगा और उनको, उनके पास हर वो अपॉर्चुनिटी होनी चाहिए, उसको पाकिस्तान पे कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए कि जब मैं पैसा लगाऊंगा मैं लेके जाऊंगा। पिछले कई दिनों से मैं और मुर्जा साहब हम सिर्फ इस बात पे काम कर रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तानी इशारा करे मुझे पैसे वापस ले जाने हैं, तो उसको ब्लिंक ऑफ एन आई में उसको डिजिटली पैसा मूव होना चाहिए, और वो पैसा पाकिस्तान से बाहर भी उसी तरह ही जाना चाहिए जैसे आया था। तो 3 बातें मुझे करनी, मैं रैप अप करता हूँ, आपके पास टाइम कम है। हमने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिल्ड किया, पेमेंट सिस्टम्स का, हमने एक्सचेंज पॉलिसी में आसानी पैदा की, हमने पाकिस्तानियों को कहा कि नहीं तुम दूर नहीं हो, तुम पास हो, तुम पास आओ, तुम पाकिस्तान में पैसे लो, हम तुम्हें बेस्ट रेट्स देंगे, बेस्ट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देंगे, और तुम्हें एक लाइफस्टाइल का मौका देंगे, और ये भी कहेंगे कि तुम पैसे पाकिस्तान वापस ले जाओ। तो अब नाउ इट इज़ अप टू द फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर कि अब इसको ब्रॉडन करें। स्टेट बैंक ने एक बात की, हमने कहा स्टॉक मार्केट, हमने कहा प्रॉपर्टी, हमने कहा नया पाकिस्तान सर्टिफिकेट। अब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मौजूद है, पैसे आ गए हैं, मुर्दा साहब ने आपको ये भी बता दिया, 52,000 प्लस अकाउंट आ गए, $140 मिलियन आ गए, तो पाकिस्तानी का कॉन्फिडेंस तो है। गोइंग फॉरवर्ड नाउ इट इज़ अप टू द फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर अराउंड अस कि वो स्टेट बैंक को पुश करे, फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर अपने आप को पुश करे और कहे कि जनाब ये तो ये 4 प्रोडक्ट्स ही हैं, हम 3 और लाते हैं। तो स्टेट बैंक जो है कहेगा यार बिल्कुल ठीक है, एज लॉन्ग एज ओवरसीज पाकिस्तानीज को हमने सर्व करना है तो वी विल डू इट। So this is the kind of confidence that we are trying to build और आखिरी बात मुझे कहनी है कि now this product is embedded. अब UBL हो, HBL हो, MCB हो, this is embedded in the system. हमारा काम था वो confidence infrastructure create करना, and going forward I think we are going places. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the comprehensive response. I think that addresses a second concern with regards to safety of investment and repatriation of the money coming into Pakistan. Now, the third question is actually acting on investment, and that you have already relayed to the financial sector. So now I'll be requesting UBL Bank, from UBL Bank, Mr. Shazad Dada, who is president and CEO of UBL, and a very seasoned banker, very experienced professional who has experience of leading several banks, including the multinational banks in Pakistan and outside Pakistan as well. And Shazad Sahab, I would like to ask you the question So how is the banking sector prepared to take this now forward, and what investors can expect in terms of experience uh, when they come to open the account and move their money?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, Asim, thank you. Great collaborating with you and all, seeing a lot of our friends on this call. And again, I think Murtaza Saab and Irfan Saab have pretty well articulated all the challenges and the opportunities. The challenges that this product and this country had, and I think in both you've seen the resilience and the foresight and the vision in which it's being delivered. But मैं जरा इरफान साहब की बात को एक क्लैरिटी दे दूं कि फर्क पड़ता है यूबीएल है कि और वो जो 3-4 पता नहीं किन किन के नाम लिए मुझे तो सुना ही नहीं दिया, एक ही है यूबीएल है, यूबीएल जिंदाबाद. लेकिन सर ये मुझे कहना था कि look, honestly I think it's very important that this product is successful, not because मैं अपने experience से बात करता हूँ. I've been an expat for 20 years and I know how difficult it was to even think about doing some of these lifestyle things that are being talked about today. The fact that you can pay your gardener, अपनी वालदा या वालिद साहब का gardener को अगर आपको payment करनी है, you can literally through mobile wallets that Omni has, you can make those payments through the RDA program. So I think it's a really exciting, and I think this is what the need of the hour is. Technology is changing the way how we do things, and I think through RDA, Roshan digital accounts, we have proven that people anywhere, any place, anytime can open an account literally and get an account open in 48 hours. And initially all the banks had some challenges, teething problem, including UBL. But I think with the help of State Bank, we were able to overcome that. And I think confidently we can say, if you have the docs ready, we can, and the docs, it's a very small list of documents that you need, which typically everybody have it available at the fingertips. You can open an account, and that customer journey or that customer experience is a very user-friendly, and it's really a game changer in my opinion. And full credit to State Bank in really having that foresight and working very closely with the banks. For us, it's been a real opportunity. As you know, we are not just present in Pakistan, all over Pakistan. We are present regionally also, with our presence in the Middle East, in Europe, Switzerland, and UK. We are serving a large part of the diaspora, Pakistani diaspora, and we are really excited that how we can use our physical presence and our digital presence all over the world to really navigate that interest into Pakistan. I can assure you that the ease in which the money comes in, the same ease the money will go out, because that's been a repeated question that comes. And I think the fact is, it doesn't need to go into NPCs, which, by the way, as an investor, I can tell you, it's competing with banking deposit products, but ye return aapko kahin nahi milega. You know, the returns that they're being offered, and I think this was again leap of faith by Ministry of Finance to offer that, and it's at par with above par with the country rating and everything else. We even have a Euro bond, so you can benchmark against that. The second thing I would just say, that not only do you invest in these in this, talking about lifestyle, you can pay bills, you can you can invest in stock market, you can invest in the real estate market, you can do multiple things with your money, or you can just keep it at the bank in a saving or a current account, however you choose. So I think this is a really exciting. One other thing that sort of very soon you will hear from UBL is we are going to be offering leverage around these products, which will enhance the returns. And inshallah, in days and weeks to come, you will be hearing more about it. So stay tuned and reach out to anybody at UBL, because we'll be able to offer that. So when you apply the leverage and you apply, your yields are far superior than any other offering with the similar credit rating in the world. So I'm very excited about it. We are off to a good start. There are some other teething problems that we are solving to make sure that we can get, and this is not just UBL, it's across. The one thing that I want to just point out is the authentication process, and that's a straight through NADA. Teams are working on it. वो होगा तो एक और streamline हो जाएगा. And I think that just seeing is believing. I'll end on that note. Go open an account. If you don't believe it, just open it, see it yourself, and all the things being said. And I would just say also do a test drive. गाड़ी लेते हैं ना, तो you do a test drive. You go open an account, put some money, $500, $200, $100, and see how easily you can take your money in and take your money out. And if you like the returns and you like the opportunities in the stock market, real estate market, or the bond market, do come here. Lastly, I would just say that lots of exciting things happening in Pakistan. I'm very excited about all the opportunities, and some of those Murtaza Saab talked about. And I think it's a great time to seize those opportunities from a distance. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shazad Saab. The kind of commitment from earlier we heard from State Bank and from the banking institutions, I'm sure whatever minor teething issues could be there would get resolved very soon. And it's already an experience as you invited everyone to test it and see it for themselves. I'm sure we are going to serve the overseas Pakistanis in a very comfortable manner. Now with that, so we have active bank accounts, we have an enabling environment, we got an outlook about Pakistan's economy, about the recovery potential and the rest we discussed. Now we have various options available through Roshan digital accounts, be it Naya Pakistan certificates, which offer you very lucrative yield. And along with that, a host of avenues also get open. In particular, let's talk about is Pakistan stock market. Real estate has always been the favorite of overseas Pakistanis. There has always been a lot of activity. There is a relatively smaller chunk that goes to Pakistan's capital market. Even in Pakistan, the number of local investors still very low. And the kind of returns this market has given over the years, even if you look at from a longer term perspective in dollar terms, they have far exceeded the developed markets. They have far exceeded the other investment avenues, including gold, including other risky assets. So probably it requires more awareness about Pakistan's stock market. Investors be told about the investment opportunity here, because Roshan digital account is more about providing investors a better return opportunity for themselves as well. So for this on this topic, I would invite Farrukh Saab in. Farrukh Saab is the CEO of Pakistan Stock Exchange and himself a capital market professional with considerable experience, have worked in several markets as well. Farrukh Saab is now leading, as Murtaza was earlier mentioning, that at key institutions we see professionals who know the business and know how to lead these institutions towards a better future. So Farrukh Saab, I would request your comments about Pakistan's stock market potential and how the Pakistan stock market can offer a return opportunity, superior return opportunity to overseas Pakistanis.
जी शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत आसिम एंड it's been a very really interesting discussion and presentations so far. I would just start by thank you for inviting PSX to participate in this discussion. जिस तरह आप कह रहे थे और मुर्तज़ा साहब ने भी हाईलाइट किया कि बहुत सारी इकोनॉमीज़ की तरह पाकिस्तान इज़ ऑल्सो गोइंग थ्रू चैलेंजिंग टाइम्स, बट माशाल्लाह Pakistan has come out strongly and in much better shape than most other regional economies. And this is really due to the timely and proactive, aggressive monetary, fiscal, and very importantly, social steps like the SARS program taken by the government as well as the central bank. These have already been highlighted by the previous speakers, so I won't go into any details. But I think एक दो जो इसमें ज़रूरी चीज़ें हैं, and what I thought would be helpful for your audience, इसमें overseas Pakistanis के ऊपर ही focused है, कि often they don't maybe fully familiar with how strong our operating and regulatory environment and the capital markets ecosystem in Pakistan has become over the last years and decades. Maybe when they left Pakistan, the ecosystem and the regulatory framework was very different. और इसका एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल मिलेगा आपको in the recent pandemic crisis, where PSX, with the full support of SECP, we took all steps to ensure that the stock market continued to trade smoothly. एक मिनट के लिए भी market बंद नहीं हुई, unlike other regional markets like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. we didn't stop trading. उसके अलावा और भी जो challenges आए, whether it was record rains in Karachi, etc., we kept operating, and the result of these actions is that today PSX is amongst the top performing markets in the world. And I would add that this is not the first time we've had this honor. PSX has delivered, as you were mentioning, some of the best returns in the world to long-term investors. Or recently, जिस तरह मेंशन कर रहे थे कि PKR, the Pakistan rupee, has also been amongst the best performing currencies in Asia. So जो overseas investors हैं, चाहे वो overseas Pakistanis हों या institutional investors, they've had a double whammy, as it were. They've benefited both from a strong rupee as well as the strong performance of PSX. So, just to talk a little bit about the history, it's one of the oldest exchanges in Asia. So there is a well-developed ecosystem and a well-developed, operating environment for PSX and the capital markets. Or jo PSX is the frontline regulator, SECP is the apex regulator, and we, mashallah, have a very good relationship of trust and respect with the apex regulator, which is important for the capital markets. And over the years, जो open outcries say it's all electronic trading, all the shares have been dematerialized, they are with CDC, जो बदी साहब आपको भी बताएंगे. Recently, SUCP and our NCPL and PSX work to introduce online account opening. तो जिस तरह Roshan digital accounts के through, now any investor can open accounts seamlessly online, sitting from their home or office, wherever they might be in the world. इसी के साथ साथ to keep up to date with, because जो हमारा primary purpose है exchange का, देखिए markets will go up, markets will come down, मगर एक robust or transparent and strong trading platform is very important, both for issuers as well as for investors. और इसमें presently, we're implementing a state-of-the-art, it's a $5 million project for state-of-the-art trading and surveillance system, जो हम अपने Chinese partner Shenzhen Stock Exchange के साथ मिलकर हम implement कर रहे हैं. And this will ensure that PSX is able to provide a robust and transparent trading platform well into the 21st century. इसमें एक और जो नई development है, which many of your listeners may not know, is कि now 3 of the leading and largest exchanges in China and indeed the world are now our partners, and it is probably the most important and high-profile private sector Chinese investment in Pakistan. पिछले 6-8 महीने में भी, despite the lockdowns and the challenging environment, we have continued to make progress, from record-breaking, debt issues, 200 billion का जो PHL Sukuk issue हुआ था, to very successful IPOs. We have a full IPO pipeline, which had been closed for the last 15 months or so. And most recently, obviously, the RDA development, which has been launched with the support and guidance of the, SBP. I will just, to conclude, say that, as you had mentioned, over the years, we have provided world-beating returns to investors, and it's not something for which Pakistan often gets full credit. So just to give you one statistics, over the last 10 years, the average annual return on PSX has been 7.25%, versus 2.78% by the MSCI Emerging Market Index. And that's a huge outperformance of over 5% per annum over a 10-year period. But despite this, we have one of the lowest PE ratios in the world and one of the highest dividend yields in the world. If you look at PSX, almost all the major sectors of the economy are represented on the exchange, so you can contribute to and gain from Pakistan's economic development. जो last चीज़ मैं share करूँगा, which would be of interest perhaps to your listeners, is that recently we have also launched ETFs, exchange traded funds. ETFs, as you may know, is probably the single largest asset category in the world now, with worth over $7 trillion. We now have 4 ETFs on PSX, and these are an ideal instrument for investors who have a long-term investment view, because एक trade के साथ you can get diversified exposure to the market at a much lower cost. और इसके अंदर है शहजाद was saying UBL माशाल्लाह UBL उनकी जो एसेट मैनेजमेंट सब्सिडरी है लॉन्च द फर्स्ट ETF on PSX and I would urge you to your listeners to look at that as a potential investment opportunity as well. So I will close there and happy to take any questions later on. Shukriya bahut bahut.
Thank you, Farrukh Saab. Thank you so much for highlighting the potential of Pakistan Stock Exchange. I think one thing that needs to be looked at is people usually consider stock exchange as a short-term avenue. If you stay invested for a longer term, look at the performance, how it has performed over the period. And as Farrukh Saab was mentioning, the long-term returns have been significantly high. Now we come towards the operational part, how it has been enabled and the support that has been provided to make this happen, to bring the stock market and other investment avenues listed on stock exchange to the investors. And for that, we have CEO of CDC, Mr. Badiuddin Akber. Badiuddin Akber Saab also is a very, very senior professional, has considerable experience in several areas of risk management, operational management, and the operational support. He has considerable experience. So I would request Badi Saab कि वो आप अपना experience share करें और how you have enabled it and what kind of support is being provided by the CDC.
Thank you, Asim. Thank you very much. It's indeed a very useful seminar we have attended so far. And thank you, Murtaza Saab, Irfan Saab, Farrukh and Shazad and all the colleagues here. First of all, starting with Murtaza Saab, there are three factors for the encouraging factor to invest in Pakistan. And one thing for the listener is that this is the best time in terms of the coordination between the regulators and the market. You know, as Irfan Saab ne jaise pehle kaha, they come to us to provide this opportunity for the stock market that they can use the information shared with the bank, which directly shared with the stock market as well. This is indeed a remarkable initiative by the State Bank, and the coordination this time between the SECP, State Bank and PSX, CDC, NCPL, or the capital market infrastructure institutions, all the ecosystem, they are very well coordinated. And you know, after this all, come to that point, what exactly happening before and what the RD account bring the revolution in the stock market to bring investment directly from the individual investors. Bank professionals are here, like Shazad Bhai is here. You know, previously to open an account by an individual for the stock market investment through this Sakra model is indeed a very cumbersome process. And most probably about more than 2,500 corporate accounts from the foreigners, only few individuals have opened their accounts so far. But with the revolutionary step taken by State Bank, with the SSP and CDC and Stock Exchange, they are now able very easily, they can open their account in the stock market. For the operational point of view, this is a very simple process. Abhi Shahid bhai ne kaha, we are taking only name of the UBL. The UBL ne apna pura system develop kiya for the RDA. So there, once you have opened your account with any bank, including UBL, jab apna account open kar lete hain, so you have an option. You can invest anywhere. We have talked a lot about the equity, and the Farrukh bhai has detailed, enlightened about the stock market investment and their return. I'm not going to detail for that. Once you have opened an account, what you have to do, you have to choose the stock market investment option from the UBL portal. Once you have select what you have to do, the first step is that you have to give your consent that you want to share your information with CDC for the onward processing for the stock market investment. यानी आप जब अपना RD account open कर लें तो आप UBL के पोर्टल पे जब अवेलेबल हैं वहाँ पे आप जाएं स्टॉक मार्केट इन्वेस्टमेंट को क्लिक करें. क्लिक करने के बाद you have to just click कि आप अपनी information जिसकी basis के ऊपर you have opened an account with the UBL for the RDA, these information shared directly with CDC without any manual intervention. First step, once you have given that, then you have to just electronically sign up or click or accept the terms and condition button, which is still available on the UBL portal as well. And then you have to select the choice of your broker. More than 25 brokers so far have joined this scheme. And now you can just select the choice of your broker. Once you complete the 3-step, your process starts, and within 24 hours, your trading account with your respective broker is open. Your account with the CDC as a depository account is open, and your unique identification number, which is a compulsory and mandatory for the stock market trading, has been issued through NCCPL via CDC. So CDC is working as a hub for the information hub between the RD account and the stock market. And for those listeners who know about this, don't know about the CDC, CDC is the sole electronic depository in Pakistan, which is formed under the special law CD Act and then operating under the Securities Act. More than about the size of the data we are handling with stock exchange and NCPR, about 150 billion number of shares we have, and the value of the securities we have around more than 40 billion US dollar we have in the stock market share capital investments. And CDC is the largest trustee as well, and about more than 98% stock mutual fund industry has we are providing trustee services to the mutual fund industry, and about 6 billion US dollar asset under management we are managing. So rest assured your assets are safe, your money are safe, because अभी starting में अपने सवाल पूछा था कि with Irfan sir, what are the risks available here for the stock market investment? It's except the price fluctuation, which is an part and parcel of the stock market investment. Your money and your shares are in safe hand. Then nothing going to happen with your investment in terms of the securities and this. So come back to the operational point. Once you have selected your broker, your account is going to be open within 24 hours. After opening an account, you have two options. You can open your account directly with the stock broker as well. And with the help of the State Bank, CDC has provided the facility that you can open directly account with the CDC in the direct settlement service, where your money and shares are directly handled by CDC. You have to only give your trading investment order to the respective broker. Once broker has executed their trade, your risk management, your settlement, your payment settlement, and your money settlement and the security settlement will be done by CDC. And CDC is also handled, the Irfan sahab ne kaha, the repatriation is the key feature of this RD account. The repatriation process for the stock market is also very easy. Whenever you want to repatriate your account, you just instruct CDC कि CDC के पास जो पैसे आपके RD account से आए, वो पैसे instantly going back to transfer to your respective RD account, and you can take money back. CDC has been given a mandate by State Bank. We are very thankful to them for this stock market initiative. CDC provide करेगा banks और respective bank को तमाम end-to-end reconciliation for the repatriation, how much money you have taken in, how much gain you have taken, how much commission you have paid, how much capital gain tax you have paid. We give the complete calculation, complete reconciliation to the respective bank, and without any question asked, bank repatriate your money to your account. This is a very simplified process, first time in the history of Pakistan. This is as Farrukh bhai ne just starting mein kaha tha कि ये facility would like to have, and we humbly request Murtaza Syed Saab and Irfan Saab that this facility has to be extended for the local market investors as well. Whatever the information they have given for the open of accounts, the banks, this information can be shared for the stock market as well. It will give a great comfort for the local community as well, because abhi jaise Asim ne kaha in the population of about 250 million, we have only 250,000 accounts in Pakistan, which is very, very low as compared to the population, despite जो हाईएस्ट रिटर्न है मेरा अबाउट मोर देन 25 इयर्स का स्टॉक मार्केट का एक्सपीरियंस है, डे वन से हाईएस्ट परफॉर्मेंस मार्केट एंड द रिटर्न ऑलवेज इन द डबल डिजिट. आई वर्क अब्रॉड सो मेनी कंट्रीज वर यू कहीं पे भी इतना अच्छा रिटर्न डबल डिजिट में कंटिन्यूअसली कहीं पे भी नहीं है. तो दे आई विल रिक्वेस्ट स्टेट बैंक, मी एंड फरूख भाई, दिस इज अ जॉइंट रिक्वेस्ट to Murtaza Syed Saab that has to be taken care of. And come back to this point, this is a very simple process to repeat again, that you have to give your consent to share information, agree the terms and conditions, select the broker, and the rest of the work done by the broker and CDC. So if, and there are some teething problems faced by some investors with the respective banks, these all been continuously, we are removing all these issues, and alhamdulillah, so far, almost all the issues have been resolved. One or two issues are still there, which is going to be resolved within a week, inshallah. So over to you, Asim, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Badi साहब. आपने बहुत comprehensively इस एरिया को कवर किया है. अब जो हम एरिया कवर कर सकते हैं, I think because we have just reached our time limit as well, हम अपने Q&A की तरफ चले जाते हैं. चंद questions जो मुझे ज़्यादा common नजर आ रहे हैं, I will just ask first one question, and that is about how KYC and जो assessment है customer की, how it is being handled in Roshan digital account. और इसी से related एक सवाल ये भी था कि क्या different countries में किसी country पे restriction है to open RD account?
You would like to answer,
Sir, if you could answer.
Banks are here. I think Sharjeel can.
Shahid, I think if you
जी
could.
श्योर बिल्कुल जी थैंक यू जी आसिम थैंक यू सो इसके अंदर आपके दूसरे सवाल का जवाब दी किसी किस्म की कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है एनआरपीस किसी भी कंट्री में हो वो वहाँ से जो है ये अकाउंट खुलवा भी सकते हैं वेरी कन्वीनियंटली हाँ कुछ बैंक्स की ऑब्वियसली अपनी इंटरनल पॉलिसीज होती हैं रिस्क के हवाले से जिसके अंदर सर्टन जोग्राफीज जो है आपको पता है इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है जब आप साइबर स्पेस में ऑपरेट कर रहे होते हैं और इस तरह का इनिशिएटिव बहुत कम मुल्कों में पाकिस्तान में तो पहली दफा लिया गया है और बाकी भी दुनिया में बहुत कम मुल्कों में क्रॉस बॉर्डर इस तरह से अकाउंट ओपनिंग और फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस जो हैं वो कंट्रीज अलाउ करते हैं और उसमें इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी का बहुत बड़ा अमल दखल होता है सो कुछ जोग्राफीज ऐसी जरूर हो सकती हैं जहां पे वो उस कंसर्न की वजह से कुछ रिस्क मैनेजमेंट जो है प्रोटोकॉल्स ऐसे हों जो रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर रहे हों बट वो केस टू केस बेसिस के ऊपर देखा जा सकता है एएमएल और आपने सीएफटी के हवाले से अभी शहजाद ने मेंशन किया कि एक हमारा नादरा पे जो डिपेंडेंसी है जिसके ऊपर स्टेट बैंक और बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री मिलके हम काम कर रहे हैं कि वो एक ऐसा पीस है जिसकी वजह से कस्टमर ऑथेंटिकेशन और वेरिफिकेशन जो है वो हमें थोड़ा सा सेमी डिजिटल तरीके से करनी पड़ती है और वो एक लेग ऐसा है कि अगर वो अभी भी आज भी अगर आप देखें तो आरडीए कस्टमर किसी भी बैंक के पोर्टल पे जाता है तो ज्यादातर केसेस में अगर वो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड एप्लीकेशन है तो सेम डे उसका अकाउंट नंबर जनरेट हो जाता है सेम डे और उसको फिर विद इन 48 आवर्स हम अकाउंट एक्टिवेट करके और उसकी रेमिटेंस जो है वो अलाउ भी कर देते हैं तो ये इवन जो 48 आवर्स भी लग रहे हैं उसका सिर्फ रीजन ये है कि पीछे जो कंप्लायंस की कस्टमर ऑथेंटिकेशन की जो वेरिफिकेशन हो रही होती है वो थोड़ा सा सेमी डिजिटल प्रोसेस है वी आर इन क्लोज कोऑर्डिनेशन विद नादरा ये जैसे ही ये फुली ऑटोमेट हो जाएगा तो ये 24-48 घंटे नहीं ये तो फिर स्ट्रेट थ्रू प्रोसेस होगा और हम मिनटों में ये अकाउंट एक्टिवेट भी कर सकेंगे कस्टमर का
Thank you, Sharjeel Saab. Sharjeel Saab is very experienced banker and is heading the UBL Digital Transformation Initiative. UBL Digital is Group Executive UBL Digital Banking. तो शरीफ साहब एक क्वेश्चन जो इसमें और जो ज्यादा इन्वेस्टर्स पूछ रहे हैं कि और किसी अकाउंट से आपके एनआरपी अकाउंट में कोई और एनआरपी आपके अकाउंट में पैसे भेज सकता है थ्रू आरडीए
तो इसके अंदर लोकल ट्रांसफर्स तो अलाउड नहीं है यानी विद इन पाकिस्तान डिपॉजिट्स या ट्रांसफर इन अकाउंट्स में नहीं हो सकते लेकिन अगर वो अकाउंट आपका एक्टिव है और पैसा अगर जो जिस तरह से दो सूरतों में आ सकता है या तो आप खुद वो पैसे भिजवाएंगे बाहर से अगर आप रेजिडेंट पाकिस्तानी भी हैं तो वो डिक्लेयर्ड आपकी जो वेल्थ है डिक्लेयर्ड बैंक अकाउंट्स हैं बाहर आप उधर से भी वो पैसा भिजवा सकते हैं सो जिस तरह से मैंने कहा प्रॉपर स्क्रीनिंग होती है हमारी कंप्लायंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वी इंश्योर के जो पैसा आ रहा है वो बैंकिंग अकाउंट से ओरिजिनेट हो रहा है बैंक टू बैंक ट्रांसफर्स हो रहा है तो इस वजह से आई थिंक ये बिल्कुल एज लॉन्ग एज दीज क्राइटेरिया यू नो आर बीइंग फुलफिल्ड देयर इज एब्सोल्युटली नो रिस्ट्रिक्शन
Okay, thank you. So there are a few questions, sort of complaints of delay in receipt of funds in their account. I guess that is related to some teething issues with, and again, our institution specific, not probably general with regards to banking industry. Am I right, sir?
एब्सोल्युटली जी एंड टू एंड क्योंकि हमें बिल्कुल ये ग्लिचेस टेक्नोलॉजी के भी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आ सकते हैं बिल्कुल और शुरू के एक महीने में 1.5 महीने में हमें काफ़ी चैलेंजेस भी आए कस्टमर्स को हमने फैसिलिटेट किया बट अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारे तकरीबन 90% अकाउंट्स जो हैं वो फ्लॉलेसली एंड टू एंड जो है वो खुल भी रहे हैं और एक्टिवेट भी हो रहे हैं अभी भी कुछ कस्टमर्स हैं जिनको डिफिकल्टीज का सामना करना पड़ रहा है अगेन उसके मल्टीपल रीजंस हैं सो हम करते ये हैं कि हम फौरी तौर पे देयर इज अ डेडिकेटेड टीम जो उनके साथ कम्युनिकेट करती है उनको हेल्प करती है कहीं पर अगर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन कंप्लीट नहीं है या कहीं पर अगर उनकी कोई पुरानी रिलेशनशिप बैंक के साथ है और वो एक नई रिलेशनशिप क्रिएट करने जा रहे हैं एंड देयर इज अ मिसमैच इन इंफॉर्मेशन तो इस तरह की कुछ रीजंस हैं जिसकी वजह से वो डिलेज आ सकते हैं
ओके थैंक यू आई थिंक कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं थोड़ा टेक्निकल नेचर के हैं सो आई वुड लेट probably they can be addressed individually because relate to probably more individual circumstances and given that we have already exceeded the time slot that we had set for it I think we can close the session maybe We can take the questions and follow them individually later on, और उनको उस तरीके से जवाब दे सकते हैं. I think to sum up, जो overall as an investment manager, मैं as an investment professional, जब पाकिस्तान की as an investment opportunity देखता हूँ, तो I think हम recall करें मुर्तजा साहब की conversation से where we began with the review of investment environment. I think key thing in Pakistan's case is कि हम पिछले 4-5 सालों से economic struggles face कर रहे थे, economic challenges face कर रहे थे. So we had currency shock as well. So हमारी currency adjust हुई because currency was overvalued. Now currency is actually undervalued as per the real effective exchange rate. In terms of the economic growth, it has been a challenge, but now it looks like that Pakistan's economy is going to recover. In fact, better than the other economies. एक फर्क ये भी है कि पाकिस्तान की economy before when the COVID struck, I think most of the economies in particular, developed markets were operating near full capacity या अपने boom phase में चल रही थी. So when the COVID hit, they had a very hard landing in some economies. क्योंकि पाकिस्तान के केस में because we were already in a repair process, healing process, तो कुछ opportunities actually पाकिस्तान के लिए arise at हुई हैं जो हम अपने जो balance of payment में external account में भी देख रहे हैं. And this creates an environment के पाकिस्तान में these reforms which have created, उससे growth का potential भी significantly पाकिस्तान के लिए steer होता हुआ नजर आ रहा है अगले कुछ सालों में. That is why especially this kind of environment is good for risky assets as well. While there are risk-free avenues in this account through Naya Pakistan certificate plus banking deposit के returns हैं, plus fixed income mutual funds होंगे या अगर risk लेना चाहते हैं because the environment is expected to improve going forward in Pakistan, जो कि मुर्तज़ा साहब ने काफी डिटेल में डिस्कस किया. Not just external side, rupee को काफी हद तक जो हमारी flexible exchange rate policy है, that has taken a lot of burden off the policy making and let it depends on how Pakistan's economy performs. And since the economic framework is being laid down, is more comprehensive, is coordinated, I'm sure this we will be able to capitalize on the opportunity. And going forward, our asset classes will also perform, are expected to perform accordingly. So with that, I would thank all of you, Murtaza Saab, Shazad Dada Saab, Farrukh Saab, Syed Irfan Ali Saab, Badi Saab, and Sharjeel Saab, and our other colleagues from State Bank and other participants, and all the participants who are joining from different parts of the region. I think some so from different parts of the region, कहीं सुबह होगी शायद और कहीं शाम होगी. But with that, I think we want to share that we are optimistic about Pakistan's economy, and Pakistan's economy has the potential to offer you returns, better returns, superior returns going forward. With that, I would like to take leave and thank you all again for joining us here. On behalf of CFA Society Pakistan, I'm especially thankful to UBL for collaborating, for bringing this webinar to potential investors. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Asim. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you, Ji. Khuda Hafiz.